Hello and welcome to today's video lesson. In this series we will going to study some other parts of prepositions, and this is our fourth series in the series of prepositions that we are learning. And we are the unique part of this video lesson is that first of all we are going to provide you some rules, and then some exercises will be there, and in those exercises first we will ask you to provide you the answer, and then we will also going to provide you the answer in case you can match your answer with ours, because our answer is the correct answer. And this is a new type of learning task, so get attached to our videos and subscribe also. तो आपको हमारे इन सभी वीडियोस में कुछ विशेष बातें जो मिलेंगी उनको आप नोट करते रहें, और आपका हमारे चैनल नॉलेज डायरी पर वेलकम है, और मैं आपका होस्ट आर.के. शर्मा इस पूरे वीडियो में आपके साथ बना रहूंगा। तो आइए हम बात करते हैं प्रेपोजिशंस के कुछ अदर पार्ट्स की। आज हम बात करने वाले हैं प्रेपोजिशन आउट ऑफ। स्टार्ट में हम इससे करेंगे, और इसमें हम सम प्रिंसिपल्स कोलोकेशंस विद द प्रेपोजिशन आउट ऑफ जो है उसकी बात हम करने वाले हैं। जो मुख्य प्रेपोजिशंस कोलोकेशंस जो होते हैं उनकी बात हम करेंगे यहाँ पर। तो आइए हम सबसे पहले बात करेंगे कुछ कोलोकेशंस की लिस्ट की। एक लिस्ट आई एम गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड यू, एंड हियर इज द लिस्ट। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, आउट ऑफ डोर्स, आउट ऑफ ब्रेथ, आउट ऑफ वर्क, आउट ऑफ डोर्स, आउट ऑफ रीच, आउट ऑफ स्टॉक, आउट ऑफ साइट, आउट ऑफ हियरिंग, आउट ऑफ द ऑर्डिनरी, आउट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस, आउट ऑफ डेट, out of control, out of place, out of danger, out of turn, out of order, out of repair, out of use, out of question. You can see here some asterisk marks are there. Asterisks have a phrase of opposite meaning formed within or within. तो इसका आपको ध्यान रखना है, ये अपोजिट मीनिंग भी फॉर्म करते हैं। सो लेट अस प्रोसीड, एंड प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू दिस चैनल ऑल्सो। सो लेट अस प्रोसीड। नाउ रिप्लेस द पार्ट्स ऑफ दिस सेंटेंस इन इटैलिक्स बाय ए सूटेबल कोलोकेशन। हम आपको इनको सेंटेंसेस में कुछ पार्ट्स जो है वो इटैलिक्स में दे रहे हैं। अब आपको उसका एक कोलोकेशन देना है। Here is an example. He has been employed for some years. Now look here, the employed is in italics, and you have to provide the suitable collocation which is used with preposition. So here is the exact answer of unemployed is out of work. Now the next. We stood waving until the train could not be seen anymore. Seen anymore means out of sight. The doctor told her that her son was safe. The meaning of safe is out of danger. I took my watch to the watchmaker because it was not going right. Not going right, the correct collocation is out of order. This mind has been disused for a long time. Now disused, and the collocation is, what disused is, out of use. It is most important that this experiment should not get, so that you cannot control it. Now, which cannot be controlled is out of control. Some more. It is a pity not to be outside on such a lovely day. The collocation of outside is out of doors. The shopman was sorry he could not supply the material as it was no longer available. No longer available is out of stock. When there are little children about, matchboxes could be kept where they cannot be reached. Cannot be reached means out of reach. Next, such a solution cannot be considered. Cannot be considered means out of the question. And next is, here is the question. Those opinions are now considered old-fashioned. Old-fashioned means out of date. Next, he ran all the way home and arrived panting. The panting for the collocation is out of breath. Next is, they waited until they could not be heard anymore. Could not be heard means out of hearing. Next, wait, it is my turn. You mustn't play in the wrong order. In the wrong order, out of turn. Next, I haven't played tennis for years. I lack practice. Lack practice, out of practice. Some more. Now, collocation with the word time. पहले हमने out of के साथ में देखा, अब हम time के साथ में collocations की बात करने वाले हैं. तो आपको out of का समझ में आ गया होगा. तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. The word time is found in a large number of collocations. Here is a list. तो time जो है वो बहुत सारे collocations के साथ पाया जाता है. तो एक हम list आपको जो है वो यहाँ पे provide करवा रहे हैं. So here is the list. At times, sometime. At a time, for a time, one time, two, etc. At a time, one by one, two time according to the schedule in the general sense, in time, before the appointed, on time, very punctual. Once upon a time, in time after the passage of a game, time after time, time and time, certain period, before my time, in times of, at the time, on a particular occasion, at the time, very there, at the same time, behind the times, means out of that date, for the time being, at one time, once but not now, and by that time. तो ये हमने collocations की लिस्ट अपने देखी है. एंड here is an exercise. आपको इटैलिक्स में दिए गए का जो है टाइम वाले collocations को भरना है. So here is your first question. The train drew into the station at the scheduled hour, and the answer is on time. The train drew into the station on time. Next, once I thought I should like to be an engine driver, but I grew out of that. At one time, I thought. They raised the alarm at 11:30, but already it was too late. Collocation for already is by the time. Next, yes, I did hear that Dr. Sharma had been married, but that was before I was old enough to understand. Old enough to understand, the collocation for that is before my time. And the next is, during a certain period, the two cars were abreast, but generally one went ahead. During a certain period, for a time, the two cars were abreast. Next, war broke out in 1991, but I was only a baby then. Then means the collocation for then is at the time. The war broke out in 1991, but I was only a baby at the time. Some more collocations with time, and here is the exercise. He made his fortune during the period when others were going bankrupt. During the period means at a time when. Next, if you think that you are hopelessly out of date in your ideas. Out of date means behind the times. Next, it is very difficult to keep the trains running according to plan in the winter. According to plan means to time. It is very difficult to keep the train running to times in the winter. Next, he is still very young. He'll learn to do it eventually. The collocation for eventually is in time. Now the next is, it is very narrow. You'll have to go along one by one. The collocation for one by one is one at a time. It is very narrow. You'll have to go along one at a time. Next, once there was a poor woodcutter who, now collocation for once upon a time there was a poor woodcutter. Now some more exercises are following. I've told you that repeatedly and still you don't do it right. Repeatedly. A time after time. Next, when there is a drought, it is often forbidden to use water for the garden. When there is, in times of drought, it is often forbidden to use water for the garden. Sometimes I get a curious pain in my leg, doctor. Now, collocation for sometimes. At times I get a curious pain in my leg. I never thought of it while it was happening, but later I realized that I ought to have been more careful. While it was happening means at the time. I never thought of it at the time, but later I realized. Now the next is, let's leave the problem temporarily. We can return to it later. Now temporarily means for the time being. Some more. Here is the exercise. Note especially the difference between on time and in time. देखिए, एक टाइम के साथ एक कोलोकेशन आ रहा है. ऑन टाइम और इन टाइम का आपको डिफरेंस यहाँ पर नोट करना है. दोनों अपने आप में एक बहुत ही अहम पार्ट अदा करते हैं. तो आपको देखना है यहाँ पे ऑन टाइम मीन्स पंक्चुअली, बट अकॉर्डिंग टू द टाइम एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू द टाइम टेबल. मतलब टाइम टेबल के अकॉर्डिंग ऑन टाइम कहा जाता है. हियर इज द एग्जांपल. दैट बस नेवर अराइव्स ऑन टाइम. मतलब ये बस कभी भी टाइम टेबल के अकॉर्डिंग यानी पंक्चुअली नहीं आती है. और इन टाइम मीन्स बिफोर समथिंग एल्स बिगिंस, कि किसी के शुरुआत होने से पहले. नॉट नेसेसरली प्लान्ड, मतलब प्लान के अकॉर्डिंग जो है नेसेसरली ये नहीं कि योजनाबद्ध ही हो. तो इन टाइम में और ऑन टाइम में ये डिफरेंस है. हियर इज द एग्जांपल. इट इज द अपोजिट ऑफ टू लेट. मतलब टू लेट मतलब ज्यादा लेट नहीं हुआ है, उसका अपोजिट भी इसको हम कह सकते हैं. He did not arrive in time to say goodbye to her. अब आ गया ना. यहाँ पर in time मतलब जो प्लान में नहीं था उसके अकॉर्डिंग कहने से पहले, मतलब गुड बाय कहने से पहले वो आ गया. कोई समय आने से पहले वो आ गया. He did not come in time to see his father before he died. तो ये इन टाइम का और ऑन टाइम का डिफरेंस अपन ने यहाँ पर नोट किया है. चलिए आगे हम बढ़ते हैं. Adjectives followed by prepositions to and at supply the missing prepositions using only to or at. अब आपको to और at का जो है वो एक prepositions आपको इसमें बताना है. बहुत ही सिंपल है और हमने इसको पहले पढ़ा हुआ है, तो इसके बारे में भी हम चर्चा करते रहेंगे. तो देखिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. He is quite blind, blanks are false. तो करेक्ट आंसर होगा he is quite blind to her faults. Next, he is extraordinarily clever, blanks mimicking others. He is extraordinarily clever, at mimicking others. Next, she on the other hand is very efficient blanks her work. She on the other hand is very efficient at her work. Next, he is an expert blanks making himself understood in foreign languages. And blanks का इसका जवाब आपको देना है he is an expert at making himself understood in foreign languages. Contrary blanks my expectations, I quite enjoyed myself at the party. और contrary के साथ में हमेशा क्या आता है to. Contrary to my expectations. Next, she was standing too close blanks the fire and got burned. यहाँ पर देखिए next जो आ रहा है she was standing too close to the fire. यहाँ पर एक चीज आपको और भी देखने को मिल रही है TOO के साथ में अगर कोई दूसरा वर्ड आएगा तो वो होगा to TO. इसको बोला जाएगा he was standing too close to the fire and got burnt. यहाँ पर TOO का मतलब बड़ा टू से है और TO का मतलब छोटा टू से है. Too close to. Next, आपको इंस्ट्रक्शन दी जा रही है और ये है आपका that fellows no good blanks games at all. And the answer is that fellows no good at games at all. Next, he carried out the project which had always been dear to his heart. We are all very indignant at the injustice done to him. Now the next, I'm sorry, I'm very bad at explaining myself. Next, he is the only one who is so very lucky blanks cards. He is the one who is so very lucky at cards. The device is entirely new blanks me. That device is entirely new to me. Now some more. He is not equal blanks the job they have given him. He is not equal to the job they have given him. Next, he remained faithful blanks his principles in spite of great pressure. He remained faithful to his principles in spite of great pressure. The delay proved fatal our plans. The delay proved fatal to our plans. She was overjoyed blanks the prospect of meeting him again. Overjoyed के बाद में आपको करेक्ट बताना है. She was overjoyed at the prospect of meeting him again. His activities are very harmful blanks my interests. इसमें देना है his activities are very harmful to my interests. Next, the government showed itself hostile. और आंसर होगा the government showed itself to hostile. She is so terribly cruel blanks a dog any progress. She is so terribly cruel to her dog. और नेक्स्ट हम कुछ और करने वाले हैं. I engaged him because he was so prompt blanks understanding my instructions. और prompt के साथ में हमेशा आएगा to act. Prompt at understanding my instructions. Next, he was heartbroken blanks her indifference to him. Heartbroken at her indifference to him. Next, he doesn't like me although I have always been kind blanks him. Always been kind to him. Kind के साथ to. Next है yes, He is the kind of person who is always quick blanks figures, or who is always quick at figures. Next, this is much inferior blanks the one I bought last week. Much inferior to the one I bought last week. Next, you'll be liable blanks a heavy fine if you do that. Liable to a heavy fine. And next is, this flower is not native blanks Himalaya. Is not native to Himalaya. Next, naturally, she was sad blanks the death of her parrot. Was sad at the death of her parrot. He does his work carefully, but he is terribly slow blanks it. Terribly slow at it. Who wouldn't be triumphant blanks their success in the examination. Wouldn't be triumphant at their success in the examination. A dutiful daughter and obedient blanks her parents. Dutiful daughter and obedient to her parents. And next is, you shouldn't be surprised blanks a thing like that. Shouldn't be surprised at a thing like that. It should be obvious blanks the meanest intelligent. Should be obvious to the meanest intelligence. Next, the seeds are peculiar blanks this genus of plants. Are peculiar to this genus of plant. Next, can't you manage to be a little more polite blanks your aunt? Be a little more polite to your aunt. He works in a factory. Previous blanks that he was in a laundry. Previous to that he was in a laundry. Next, I have been truly astonished blanks the number of people who believe it. Astonished, truly astonished at the number of people. Astonished के साथ में at ही आएगा. और next है, this is quite irrelevant blanks the matter we are discussing. Quite irrelevant to the matter we are discussing. They were shocked blanks his apparent lack of appreciation. Were shocked at his apparent lack of appreciation. He was so rude blanks her that she never spoke to him again. So rude to her. Next है, sacred blanks the memory of Maharana Pratap. Sacred to the memory of Maharana Pratap. They are very sensitive blanks, people's opinion of them. Very sensitive to the people's opinion. Sensitive के साथ में to आ रहा है. और next है, I have got one similar blanks yours. One similar to yours. Next, subject blanks the exigencies of service. Subject to the exigencies of the service. The people of this country are very skillful blanks making dolls. Very skillful at making dolls. It's useful blanks me to have a guard about the house. Useful to me. Next है, it's vital blanks a proper understanding of the problem. Vital to a proper understanding. Next है, supply the missing prepositions using with, for और of. अब आपको with, for और of जो है उनका prepositions का यूज आपको यहाँ पर बताना है. So here is the exercise. Don't be afraid blanks the dog, it won't bite you. Afraid के साथ में हमेशा क्या आएगा? Of. Don't be afraid of the dog. Next, I can't be angry blanks him now that he's apologized blanks what he has done. दो जगह आपको देना है. I can't be angry with him now that he is apologized for what he has done. तो एक में with आएगा और एक में for आएगा. नेक्स्ट देखिए, he is far ahead blanks the others in English language. Far ahead of the others. Next, you ought to be ashamed blanks yourself. You ought to be ashamed के साथ में हमेशा of आएगा. Ashamed of yourself. Next, are you aware blanks the fact that it is 6:30? Aware के साथ में हमेशा of आएगा. Aware of the fact. Next है, I'm sorry, they are simply not capable blanks doing it. Capable के साथ में हमेशा of आएगा. Capable of doing it. और some more exercises. Don't disturb him. He is busy blanks his accounts. He is busy with his accounts. He is ambitious and eager blanks honors. Ambitious and eager for honors. Next है, for goodness sake, don't be careful blanks that vase. You could easily drop it. Careful with that vase. Next है, children must be taught to careful blanks traffic rules. Taught to be careful of traffic rules. Next, I'm not at all certain blanks the date of his arrival. Certain के साथ में of आएगा. Certain of the date. His explanation was not consistent the facts. Consistent के साथ में हमेशा with. Consistent with the facts. Next है, Maharana Pratap was famous blanks his heroic wars. Famous के साथ में हमेशा for आएगा. Famous for his heroic wars. Next है, I was conscious blanks a feeling of uneasiness. Conscious के साथ में हमेशा of आएगा. Conscious of a feeling. Next है, Jaipur lies due west blanks Agra. Due west to of Agra. Sorry, due west of Agra. Next है, I'm sorry, I'm not content blanks your explanation. और content के साथ में हमेशा with आएगा. Content with your explanations. Next, the soldier was pronounced fit blanks service. Pronounced fit for service. Next, Mahi was terribly envious blanks Juhi's new hat. Envious के साथ में हमेशा of आएगा. Envious of Juhi's new hat. We are all very fond blanks going to the theatre. और fond के साथ में हमेशा of आता है. Fond of going to the theatre. Karan is very discontented blanks his salary. और discontented के साथ में with his salary. तो next है, I shall be grateful blanks any advice you can give me. और grateful के साथ में हमेशा for आएगा. Grateful for any advice. This exercise is full blanks the most terrible mistakes. और full के साथ में हमेशा of आ रहा है. Next है, are you familiar blanks the works of Kalidas? Familiar with the works of Kalidas. The manager is well qualified blanks his position. Is well qualified for his position. That is something I am profoundly glad blanks or profoundly glad of आ रहा है इसमें. Next है, the chair is not identical blanks the one I bought last year. और identical के साथ में हमेशा with आएगा. Identical with the one I bought last year. He is a sporting fellow and always ready blanks anything. और ready के साथ में for आएगा. Ready for anything. और next है that student is ignorant blanks the first rules of grammar. Ignorant of the first rules of grammar. Your explanation is incompatible blanks the story I heard. Incompatible के साथ में with आएगा. Incompatible with the story I heard. Next, Manoj, you will be responsible blanks providing the drinks. Responsible for providing the drinks. Next है judges must be independent blanks political pressure. और independent के साथ में of आ रहा है. Independent of political pressure. Next है I know he is a difficult child. But you must be patient blanks him. Must be patient with him. Next, I am extremely sorry blanks the delay, but I was held up. Or extremely sorry for the delay. ये आ रहा है इसमें. Next देखिए he was jealous blanks his brother's good fortune. और jealous के साथ में हमेशा of आया. Jealous of his brother's good fortune. Comedians are always popular blanks holiday crowds. Always popular with holiday crowds. I can't bake a cake as we are short blank sugar this week. Or we are short of sugar this week. Next है his income is sufficient blanks his needs. Sufficient for his needs. Next है he is always very shy blanks approaching his head. Always very shy of approaching his head. Let us be thankful blanks small mercies. और thankful के साथ में हमेशा for आएगा. Thankful for small mercies. ये कुछ और एक्सरसाइजेज हैं. It's wise to be sure your facts before you speak. और sure के साथ में हमेशा आ रहा है of. Sure of your facts. Next है one is generally tolerant blanks small faults. Tolerant of small faults. Next, she is unfortunately devoid blanks a sense of humor. और devoid के साथ में हमेशा आएगा of. Devoid of a sense of humor. Next है they gave him a visa valid blanks all countries in Asia. और valid के साथ में हमेशा आएगा for. Valid for all countries in Asia. I'm tired that blanks arguing with you. और tired के साथ में हमेशा आएगा of. Tired of arguing with you. They proved themselves unworthy blanks the trust which was placed in them. और unworthy के साथ में हमेशा आएगा of. Unworthy of the trust which was placed in them. तो अब देखिए हम बात कर रहे हैं from, about, on और in की. आपको यहाँ पर देना है ये blanks जो हम दे रहे हैं इसमें. तो here is your first question. Keep away blanks the machine while it is running. Keep away from the machine. Next, he was singularly fortunate blanks a choice of wallpaper. Singularly fortunate in his choice. Next, he is intent blanks attending the cricket match on Sunday. Intent on attending the cricket match. Or next है I am very dubious blanks your chances of passing the examination. और dubious के साथ में about, dubious your chances, about your chances. Next है they are proficient blanks the use of their talent, और proficient के साथ में हमेशा in आ रहा है, proficient in the use of their talent. This is quite different blanks what I expected, और इसमें quite different from what I expected ये आ रहा है. चलिए next आगे बढ़ते हैं. The diet here is deficient blanks vitamins, deficient in vitamins. That young man is very keen blanks cycling, very keen on cycling. Next है we are all very enthusiastic blanks on our next holiday, enthusiastic about our next holiday. It was far blanks my intention to suggest that he was unintelligent, और यहाँ पर far के साथ में आएगा far from my intention, क्योंकि दूर से यहाँ पर से तात्पर्य हो रहा है intention से. Next है he was perfectly honest blanks his intentions to win the prize at all costs, perfectly honest about his intentions to win the prize. Next है the secretary was not well qualified blanks shorthand, was not well qualified in shorthand, qualification के साथ में हमेशा in आएगा. Next है some people appear completely immune blanks this disease, completely immune from this disease. Next I am very reluctant blanks asking him to do this, reluctant about asking him to do this. Our plans must remain dependent blanks the weather, must remain dependent on the weather, dependent rely on, dependent on, इस तरीके से on आएगा. Next है everybody was very uneasy blanks the outcome of the negotiations, very uneasy about the outcome of the negotiations. Next of course you're quite right blanks that, quite right about that. He was involved in an accident resulting blanks the slippery condition of the road, resulting in from the slippery condition of the road. और next है the enemy is weak blanks artillery, weak in artillery. Next है entomologists are still curious blanks the life cycle of that moth, curious, still curious about the life cycle, curious about, है ना. Next है I'm not very interested blanks the story, I'm not very interested in the story. Put that cake back in the cupboard where it will be safe blanks the cat of your life, it will be safe from the cat of your life. I'm afraid he is quite wrong blanks the date of invasion, quite wrong about the date of invasion. Next है his father was very sad blanks his son's failure in his final examination, very sad about his son's failure in his final examinations. I am extremely doubtful blanks the wisdom of pursuing that course of action, extremely doubtful about the wisdom of pursuing that course of action. Next है और ये आपने देखा कि हमने जो है इस एक्सरसाइज की है और निश्चित रूप से आपका ये वीडियो बहुत यूजफुल रहा होगा और आप हमारे चैनल पर इतने समय तक बने रहे हैं उसके लिए थैंक्स फॉर योर टाइम, और इसी तरीके से हमारे चैनल पर बने रहें और देखते रहें हमारे लेटेस्ट वीडियोस। हमारा एक वीडियो इसके ऊपर अभी और आएगा जिसमें आपको लॉट्स ऑफ एक्सरसाइजेस दी जाएगी। Until then, have a nice learning. Thank you.